Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is January 25th, and right now we are looking at the infrared satellite imagery. We've got BC, Washington, Oregon. Check out the Hawaiian Islands to the bottom left. We've got our low pressure center still here. It's weakening pretty dramatically, but it is still spreading some moisture back up over the area today. So we're going to get kind of the hit and miss showers again as we go on in through early tomorrow. Then this next system will be quickly bearing down. As you can see, it's not far away now. The first of our several rounds of the Pineapple Express or atmospheric river activity into the Pacific Northwest. We're going to go into those details here as we go through the video this morning. Taking a look here, a closer look, you can see the Doppler radar is overlaid on this also, and you can see the next slug of moisture already moving across some of the South Sound there as well. And then the system out here, the high and mid-level clouds eventually be spreading up over the area over the next day or so. Taking a look at the North American model, high resolution. This is hot off the presses this morning, composite reflectivity. So this is what the Doppler radar may look like as we go through the day today. And it's about 9 a.m. here, and you can see that would be right about here. So that next slug of moisture is moving in. You can see it moving back and forth across the area here, but we might even get a little bit of a break here as we go through the day today, or at least through this evening. And then the next system starts rolling in here as we go towards late tonight and on into early tomorrow morning. You can continue to see just this persistent rainfall just over the Pacific Northwest with atmospheric river round number 1 coming across the area. And then we've got at least 2 more in the wake of that. We'll go over into those details here in a minute. I also want to point out the 2-meter max temperatures here. So check it out. You know, we're up towards 50, maybe some low mid 50s here across portions of western Oregon, chillier east of the mountains, of course, and across the higher terrain. But as we go through the next couple of days, we'll get Friday, Saturday, starting to warm things up, maybe some upper 50s and even some lower 60s for some of the southern Oregon coastline there. And look at Sunday, maybe up towards 60 for Seattle, Portland, maybe some mid 60s here across portions of western Oregon as well. That would feel quite warm. And Monday, another quite warm day as well. Tuesday also. And then we start to pivot that last atmospheric river through here as we go through the mid to the later portion of this week upcoming. And then we're going to cool things down. And it looks like a cooler pattern probably setting up as we go to early February. No promises on that just yet. We'll worry about that here over the next few days. Taking a look at Seattle, Tacoma, look at Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday. This is just going to feel downright balmy here across a lot of the region, getting up into the 50s and even maybe up into the 60s if we're lucky, especially across portions of western Oregon. Now, looking at Quileute Airport, we're going to have some deep lows moving off the coastline here, but they're probably going to stay far enough away. We're not going to have any region-wide windstorm by any stretch of the imagination, and we're probably going to have some gusts maybe along some of the coastal areas up into the 50-mile-per-hour range or so, but nothing not like what they're used to here in the fall and winter months. Now, looking at the GFS, this is hot off the presses, the 12Z run. You've got BC, Washington, Oregon here. This is integrated vapor transport, and this is how we measure atmospheric rivers, this flow based on the duration that it moves over any given area. So if we put this into motion, you can see as we go into Friday night, the next system arrives here, and just this southwest, extremely moist plume of moisture here, known as an atmospheric river, continues to move over the Pacific Northwest. And we've got another system associated with that southwest flow as we go on into Sunday into Monday, and then probably the finale here as we go on in through Tuesday and until Wednesday here. And finally, we start to get some cooler air and we shut off that subtropical tap into the Pacific Northwest as we go through the later portion of next week here. Now, taking a wider look at things, you can see Alaska here. I've got the GFS of this morning and last night's run here. This one on the right is 700 millibar temperature, so about 10,000 feet. And this one here is precipitable water. So this is the next system rolling in here. And you can see it's a subtropical tap all the way back down towards the equator here. And that's going to be moving up towards Pacific Northwest. And you can kind of see the trough and the axis of this pumping that very warm air back up into the Pacific Northwest. And then you can see the continued nature of this atmospheric river stretching all the way from the subtropics back into the Pacific Northwest here, with this very cold air dropping down across the Gulf of Alaska. And it's going to allow one more very warm, moist system here as we go through the mid portion of next week before it finally cuts that off and we get some cooler air back into the Pacific Northwest. So, you know me, I always like to give a visual diagram of what is going on with the upper levels of the atmosphere as far as it relates to our weather here across the region. Now, taking a look here, the atmospheric river vertical cross section. I show this from time to time when we get atmospheric rivers about 3 to 4 kilometers, maybe 10,000 feet high. They're not way up in the atmosphere here. These are lower level features, and when they slam into terrain, they drop a lot of their moisture. So that's why you get such dramatic rain shadowing events with these systems. You can imagine you're standing out over the Pacific Ocean, maybe on a barge or something. You're looking back towards Vancouver Island or Western Washington, and this would be the cross section. And this is looking from above, and you kind of see they are relatively relatively narrow here. And if you line up the terrain perfectly, though, perpendicular to the flow, about 90-degree angle, that's when you maximize the effect of these atmospheric rivers. So when you line up the mountain range like this and you put it into there, you're really not maximizing that orographic lift, and you're kind of dragging it up the mountain range instead of slamming it directly into it. So that's why these next systems up here, we're going to favor some of Vancouver Island, although it will still bring some heavy rainfall, and it still can include some of the Olympic Mountains and the Cascades of Washington at time, but not one of the huge upper level flooding events for the Cascades. However, Southwest BC and Vancouver Island are going to be kind of bullseye here, and I'll show you that in a moment. This is looking back towards November 1990. I mentioned this yesterday. You can see more of the westerly flow here, and this is really why we had some devastating flooding in western Washington way back in November 1990, because the setup of that kind of perpendicular into the higher terrain. And this is looking at the winds at about 5,000 feet, 850 millibars, kind of shows you that west-southwesterly flow back into Washington state. This is the setup coming here, so you can definitely see much more of a southerly flow here out of the south-southwest. It's going to be targeting some of the Olympic Mountains, Vancouver Island, and southwest BC most likely, but it's still going to be bringing some impressive precipitation amounts across the Cascades, and it may even target portions like southwest Oregon as well. Now, this is looking at the integrated vapor transport, and again, kind of showing you this plume that is upcoming here. It's going to be trekking right into Vancouver Island. This is a National Disaster Survey report back from November 21st to the 26th, 1990. There was actually some pretty good flooding earlier in the month, too, so it kind of set the stage for this. But check this one out if you want to have some light reading there about a pretty major disaster here across western Washington. Did some significant damage. Looking at the GFS, this is 24-hour running precipitation total here. So this will kind of give you the gist of what's going on. So here we go with Friday night system rolling in here, and you can see some impressive 24-hour totals showing up here across southwest Oregon, some of the coastal range, and then you can see how this starts targeting some of Vancouver Island and western BC. You really get the point driven home here when you see some of these precipitation totals across the Olympics, Vancouver Island, and it's targeting some of the North Cascades at times and some of the Cascades at times, but you notice the biggest bulk of this precipitation is southwest BC, Vancouver Island, and some of the coastal ranges here and the Olympic Mountains. So as we scroll on into the next system here, it's going to be rolling in Sunday night. Again, another huge round of precipitation across western BC and Vancouver Island. And we're not doing bad here across the Cascades. I don't want to downplay this. We could still get some flooding. It's just not one of the extremely dynamic events. And then yet again, as the system moves through midweek, again with southwest BC and Vancouver Island with that trajectory right into the higher terrain there, could be really bringing some big problems here. So a 1-2-3 punch coming up as we go into next week with these atmospheric rivers. This is looking at total precipitation in inches on the National Blend of Models. And if we put this into motion, this is just going to be the entire period here. And you can really see the bullseye across the Olympics, Vancouver Island, and western BC as well. And again, we're still doing pretty good precipitation-wise out of this, even across some of Seattle and Portland and the Cascades. But the really big stuff, as you can see, is going to be kind of the terrain that's favored with that southwest flow back up into it. Now, looking at snow depth in inches, I showed this yesterday as well, but this is a different map, and it kind of shows it maybe a little bit better. This is the European. So this is yesterday afternoon's run. This is snow depth in inches, and you can see the Cascades, the Olympics, Vancouver Island, and BC, of course. And if we put this into motion, well, you know, we build a little bit of snow here over the next day or so, but look at what happens as we start to trek off into the future when we get this warm southwest flow. We are going the wrong way here, folks, and you can see it's going to devastate some of the lower elevation snowpack across British Columbia, and you can see the just retreat of the snowpack as we go on in towards the end of next week. And then hopefully that cooler air that starts to arrive in early February can allow us to start to rebuild some of this, because that's the start and that's the end of the run. That's a 10-day difference here. So pretty dramatic reduction of our snowpack is going to be incoming here. And of course, that's going to accompany some flooding threat across the area as well. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, you guys have heard me talk about this before, click on that link down below. This thing is awesome. It's got a lightning detection system, ultrasonic anemometer, tells you when it starts to rain. There's no batteries or anything. It's all solar powered. Highly recommended. But yeah, interesting stuff coming up here, folks. We're going to continue to watch this and break it down day by day. I'm probably going to do a live stream at some point in the next couple of days as well, or maybe another video here tonight when we get new model information. But it looks like a pretty dramatic 1, 2, 3 atmospheric river punch into a lot of the Pacific Northwest here. And again, the biggest highlights and the biggest target are the Olympic Mountains, Vancouver, Southwest BC. But I don't want to downplay the rainfall across some of the Cascades because we're going to have some snowmelt going on as well. We could be having some flooding concerns there also, and some of the Oregon coast as well. So anyway, yeah, so enjoy that warm weather though. I mean, it's going to feel quite nice as we go on into the early portion of next week with the southwest flow, really going to bump up some of the temperatures here. But yeah, we're going to pay the price and some of the precipitation amounts that we're going to get. But anyway, yeah, hope you guys are liking these videos. I'll probably do a video either again tonight or tomorrow. Maybe I'll do 2 tomorrow. We'll kind of continue to break things down, and we'll try to pinpoint exact amounts and exact impacts here as we go. So anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. We'll do this again tonight or tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.